Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Capricorn. If Capricorn is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. Okay, let's see, what do these tea leaves have to say tonight? All right. Okay, so I immediately saw the heart. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but it looks like a thumbs up. Kind of also looks like a chicken, kind of like the one that you would draw in school with your hand, you know, kind of outline of your hand and then turn it into a chicken, but kind of without the fingers here. I want to say that this one is going to be definitely a symbol for like a wake-up call. Okay. It looks like it looks like a rooster in that its head is like kind of up and alert, and it's on the side there. It's missing the tail, obviously, but this one looks like it's going to sound the alarm pretty soon. So I think that this is maybe going to be some messaging towards some kind of revelation that's been happening in your life. It might have to do with this heart, okay? And I just kind of want to turn this a little bit more. See what we're dealing with here. Okay. I'm going to apologize for my cat is in the background running around, jumping off of stuff. And if you're wondering which one, it is TT. Okay, so. All right. Now, I want to look at the heart here. The heart to me looks like it also has like almost, it reminds me of a scale kind of at the peak up here. And so I really do think that this is going to be a love that you're really kind of considering right now. You're considering it's the well-being of the relationship, if it is worth kind of maybe continuing this relationship, or if you are just kind of dating, maybe there are some kind of red flags or kind of things that are coming up that you're not sure if they are things that you could see yourself living with or knowing how to navigate. But I do get the feeling that this is maybe an ongoing relationship just because of the size of the heart and where it is located on this side, the incline here, where it's kind of that real emotional, psychic, very conscious area. Okay. So now this coming up with the card that I chose, or well, I didn't choose it, I picked it, and it chose me, it chose us, it chose this reading. It is the Moon card, and this is from the Thoth deck. And as you can see, it's kind of in that lunar valley. There are two dogs on either side. They are synonymous with Anubis, which is a deity, an Egyptian deity, and psychopomp, somebody who ushers you down into the underworld for your judgment after you have died. So we also see at the bottom with the sun. This is the dung beetle that rules the sun. It is beneath the horizon here, so we know that this is the true lunar zone. We're in the night side right now. Okay, so what does that all mean? For me, I have a complicated relationship with the moon, as we all do. But when the card comes up, especially when it has to do with relationships, I think of this kind of distortion in thinking, where maybe the more difficult, unrecognized, unembraced, unintegrated parts of the self, maybe even the shadow, start to come to the surface a bit. They might be running amok in your life. This could be on your end. This could be on your partner's end. It could be both of you. And so I think this is a place where there is a lot of room for turmoil, kind of a disruption in communication. Maybe one or the other is unreceptive to the communication, or trying to work together to get to a place of understanding. A lot of emotions kind of coming up and blocking that communication. Maybe acting impulsive, irrational, or also kind of like going into places of trauma flare-ups, you know, or just any kind of very uncomfortable symptoms or coping mechanisms. These kinds of things definitely are a little more intense. And you can kind of think of this as the moon cycles, or the ebb and flow, right? The waxing and waning, kind of those waves of feelings and emotions. And of course, the moon is very much tied to the waters, the emotional waters. But I do see that we have also, like the card, we have a dog figure here, and then it's really very much the same kind of posture and figure right over here. So we do have those two dogs, and I really think this indicates that you kind of are in that night side valley. It could even be like the dark side of the dark night of the soul, right? Which is a place that is it's very much in that shadow work, but it could be a place of great melancholy, depression, you know, just kind of a very bleak, unilluminated area. A lot of pain coming up, a lot of turmoil. You know, it just is a place also in, I think maybe in its origin, I'm not really sure, and I forget which saint wrote about it exactly. I feel like I want to say Augustine, but I don't think it was. Maybe it was Augustine, but this is also a place where your faith is really tested. This is a place where you feel that God is absent, your relationship with God, the divine. You have been abandoned, neglected, betrayed, forgotten in this place. And once the kind of dismay of that abandonment kind of lifts, then you're left in this place that feels endless, like an eternity of isolation, of being alienated from that which gave meaning to your life, right? And so this can be a very hard place to be. It can be a really difficult place to be within your relationship, especially. So I think that, you know, I'm not going to I don't want to play this up like it's, you know, the worst thing that's ever happened in your relationship or in your life. But I do think that beneath this kind of demented light of the moon, there have been some fractures, but also some really important breakthroughs, okay? And I think that these are things that often, this is true in life, I think, when we start to see something so clearly, we start to come to an understanding or have a larger perception and perspective of something, it seems very obvious to us. And we think, you know, why didn't I get this sooner? Or even that maybe you always knew. You always knew. You're just now, it's just now coming to the front of your mind. And maybe that is true, but you know, that's this kind of weird thing about this kind of distorted memory, is that we forget that we once were very naive about things that maybe seem very apparent. And that's okay. That's part of the growing, learning, evolving process. Now, I see this person here, kind of, it looks like they maybe have a dress or a cape on. They have their arm up. It looks like they're brandishing some kind of weapon, possibly. It looks like it's just a place of attack, of being in the middle of a moment of maybe rage or defending yourself, or both. And I really think that this has nothing to do with like physical fighting or altercations or anything like that. Maybe not even like arguing. But I do think that there's this violent realization happening. I mean, it's just very strong. It's overwhelming. It is just cutting through you. And I think that really, I feel that you are starting to realize that you have spent so much of your life feeling that your emotions are wrong, feeling that your need for connection, communication, for, you know, having a closeness and openness, you know, being very closely tied to somebody. You've been told by society, by maybe other partners, maybe by the examples of relationships in your life, maybe even like through therapy, I don't know, but that these things are difficult, they're not healthy, you know, maybe that even to some degree it's emotionally manipulative to expect things like this from people. But I think it's interesting that at some point, hopefully in everybody's life, that we at least have some moments where we realize we are who we are and we feel how we feel. There's always room to heal old wounds, traumas, coping mechanisms, these kinds of things. But also that, you know, if we, and this is the thing here, if you're not harming other people, if your life is not out of control, if you are not, you know, harming yourself, at some point, is it ever okay to just be who you are and feel how you feel and need what you need? I think that we live in a world that just likes to tell us that we aren't good enough, what we're feeling isn't real, what we're feeling is not valid, that wanting more, needing more, advocating for what you need, what you want, makes you a difficult person, makes you an empty person, makes you an aggressive person, makes you a person that is not self-sufficient or independent or whatever it is, right? And then on the other side, if you're not emotional enough or asking for closeness, then you're, you know, antisocial or, what's the word? Maybe psychotic or not psychotic, psychopath, I don't know, whatever. The one where you don't feel anything, I guess, or whatever. And, or you're predatory, or you're too stoic, or, you know, you're emotionally constipated. I mean, whatever it is, right? It's, so the point is, I think that you're coming to, at least in this moment, in these moments coming up, just a place where there's a bit of an opening for some clarity to just be okay with how you feel. Now, is this going to work within your relationship? Is your relationship compounding these insecurities? This feeling of not knowing yourself, not trusting yourself, not trusting what you need or what you want? Is there a way that you can adjust the relationship, work on the relationship so that you can get to a place where you aren't feeling constantly in distress about, you know, your emotional state, well-being, you know, what you want, what you need? I don't know. I'm not necessarily, I have to look some more. But I think the most important part is that you're asking these questions and you're having a sense of empowerment happening and, you know, coming up against that kind of big question. Is this going to work for me in the long run? You know, is this going to work for us in the long run? Right? And so then, right, some of those things that, you know, we don't want to think about them. Nobody wants to think about them. Having an exit plan, being ready to move on if you have to. Even just logistically, domestically, right? I think it's important for everybody, not just if you are in a situation where you feel unsafe, and this is a thing, you know, when you're in a situation where you start to feel unsafe, you must, I mean, I hope, if anybody is hearing this, that you have some kind of exit plan. You have some support system, hopefully, to figure out what you're going to need to do. I'm not really necessarily talking about that, but, you know, I do, you know, this is always on my mind. Anyways, just because the amount of people I've seen go through abusive homes and relationships and things like this. But anybody in any kind of circumstance, even if it's the best circumstances, you never know what's going to happen. You have no idea. I mean, life can change in an instant. So I hope that everybody has, on some level, you know, a plan for themselves. And I know that's not very optimistic of me and not very romantic of me, but I mean, listen, it's the truth. You know, you never know. So anyways, to connect this to that, unfortunately, but not really. We have this llama, right? And a llama is traditionally a pack animal. And so I think that you really do carry a lot of, probably a lot of aspects of your relationship kind of on your back, right? Maybe some of the domestic, maybe child rearing or financial, you know, just like I had said, logistics, parts of the emotional. You might be the one that has to initiate a lot of the emotional stuff, or maybe you are kind of the person that keeps everybody a little more balanced and anchored, and you know, this kind of thing. But whatever it is, it can be a lot, right? And sometimes you do need a break. So if there is, you know, not a situation where you see yourself leaving necessarily, I do think that it's really important because of some of the things that are coming through to you, that this clarity that you are having, to have some time for yourself to contemplate those things, to really have the room to explore them, just literally time-wise, but also, you know, that kind of I'm sorry, my cats are chasing me through. They're chasing through here. They're so excited that I left the doors open. But to have the space for you to explore the emotional parts of it without having kind of the assertion of somebody else or just the influence of somebody else directly during those kind of moments of exploration. So, you know, if you can get away for a couple days, or even, you know, just a couple of 20 minutes here and there. If you have a family, I understand it's hard to get away and, you know, think about anything but what is next in the day, what's your next task. So, but yeah, maybe try to steal away some of those moments, even if it's in the shower or whatever. I think it's important to hold on to this clarity. I think it's really important if you can, if you have the will or the time to journal some of this stuff, if it's safe for you to do so, or if you feel, you know, that you can have something like this written down with, you know, for your privacy basically. But yeah, so doing that, or just making some kind of art about it, something to kind of bring you back to this feeling if you kind of start to forget, right? And we always do, right? We have these moments of great clarity and just kind of revelation, and then a million little things happen, and maybe a big thing here, and you know, and then you're taken out of it, and you just keep marching on in life, and it might be a while till the next time this comes to you so clearly. So it's important to have things to honor these moments and these kinds of realizations. So let's see, what else do we have? This one I saw when we first started, and I love it so much. It's like it looks like a little rocket ship. It's got 1, 2, 3 little things behind it. And I feel that, you know, there's just a sense of like a higher vibration happening, a lifting of the veil, kind of getting into the atmosphere. Really, just really feeling so much less tied to the earth right now, so much more in your thinking, things kind of starting to feel a little more illuminated in these places, and lining up in a way that's understandable for you, not just kind of fragmented feelings and impulses and impressions and little, you know, outbursts, and, you know, then lamenting it. It's just kind of all seems very clear right now. Okay. So I think that, let's look at this. So right here, I was looking and I'm like, okay, so, and it just, it just slid, but it looks like a plateau, right? And kind of, which was up here, and then the water took it away. But it kind of has this, it looks like a plane kind of flying over it. And I really feel like you have gotten out of whatever that kind of, there was a period of time that felt like things just were not progressing. Not necessarily bad, but not necessarily like anything great was happening. Just kind of, you know, I don't know, autopilot maybe. But we also have the sign here of, now these ones look like eyes, right? But I've been looking at those as like a candle, like an illuminating candle. So I really do think that there's just this high frequency of, and now we were talking about the moonlight, right? But I do think that, obviously, the satellite of the moon is illuminated by the sun. So, I really do think that there has been this great movement towards kind of just an illumination aligned with an openness and vulnerability that you've had that has allotted you a lot of kind of self-knowledge. And really that, like I keep saying, I just get this like this image of like just like a crack, you know, and the light coming in and being very like surprised by the accessibility of like just really seeing yourself for what it is, for what you are, your emotions for what they are, and not so complicated. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't feel like it's super complicated and, you know, all of these kind of factors like piled on and whatever. So I think this is a real blessing and also very difficult. You know, don't get me wrong, this is a difficult time. I also see this little thing. It kind of reminds me of the Cheshire Cat. So I really feel like there is like that kind of almost like trickstery, lunary, kind of distorted, weird, demented, surreal kind of energy going on as well. So all of this feels like, you know, in a few weeks or whatever, you could look back on it and think, oh, that was like a really weird, you know, maybe I was getting sick, or maybe, you know, maybe I just, the moon was influencing me, or, you know, something. My emotions were in a weird cycle at that time, or whatever it is. I feel like it's easy to be kind of dismissive of the clarity that you're having and these realizations that you have been coming to. But I really, again, and this is why I think it's important if you can document it, just so you remember, you know, just so you remember. And remember that it wasn't just like some fluke or some weird thing, or, you know, you're just too emotional or whatever. You know, I think that this is a gift from yourself to yourself, really. And, yeah, that's the reading, Capricorn. I want to thank you so much for the time that you've spent with me tonight. I'm always so honored to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps me get into the algorithm. If you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing so. You can hit the little bell button. It will let you know when the next videos come out. Other than that, please think about leaving a comment if you feel like it. I love hearing from each and every one of you. I have, you know, just some of the sweetest things on there, and it really keeps me going, making these videos, doing these readings. I'm a creature that needs a lot of positive reinforcement. That definitely true. So, all right. I thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will be talking again in 7 days.